land and home of one of the largest communities of Inuit south of the 60th parallel. It's a welcoming place and a gathering place for all peoples who've come to Edmonton to share it as a home, some temporarily, some permanently. And we call upon all of our collective honor traditions and spirits to work in building a great city for today and for future generations. And with that, we move into our minutes from end of October, where Kyle started off the meeting as I was just arriving in Halifax, and then I closed the meeting. I made a couple minor edits in the minutes from October 22nd, just noting that at the time it was right after the municipal election, so we no longer had Councillor Hamilton as our council liaison, so just changed that in one of the columns. I just made a couple spelling adjustments, and I also wanted it noted that I came in late into the meeting, as I mentioned, with Kyle starting off for me so graciously. So just a few edits there. Mitchell's looks like he's addressed those already, so thank you, Mitchell. Any other comments or concerns, suggestions on the October 22nd minutes? Not seeing anybody raising their hands or flagging anything, so I will take that as no concerns, and I will move that those minutes are adopted as presented and amended. Seeing no concerns there. Passed. Bang. Right into the chair report. And as I mentioned, Halifax was where I was October 23rd, 25th for the National Trust for Canada Conference, which they held annually. And this was in conjunction with the Canadian Association of Heritage Professionals, as well as the Indigenous Heritage Circle. So two, kind of like a tripartite group that organized this conference, like with the trust leading it. I put a link in here just because it'd be a full agenda today. I don't want to take too much time, but I put a link in there just to some of the notes. For the sessions that I attended, just put some high level notes in there for each of those sessions, and then some key takeaways. I thought I should have put some photos. Maybe later tonight I might drop in some photos just from the conference center, just proof that I was there. But if you want to see what I learned, you can look there. It's pretty neat things. Just quickly, one of the things that I didn't know about were heritage development agreements, which they use in Halifax quite a bit. So that's kind of their main vehicle in the city of Halifax, because they're seeing a lot of development pressure since COVID, and they also obviously are a pretty old city. A lot of development pressure on their heritage stock there. So heritage development agreements are one of the main tools that the municipality, like Halifax Regional Municipality, HRM, what the HRM uses to try and incentivize and encourage adaptive reuse or preservation of their heritage resources there. So I thought that was pretty neat. Didn't know about that, and definitely not something that we typically use in the city here. We have our designation process, which is kind of the only main tool that we have to incentivize our heritage conservation. So yeah, if you want to look at more details about the conference, the links in the agenda here. I also noted here below that I participated in a Taproot Exchange, which is basically like a live lunch hour discussion that Taproot hosts with folks in Edmonton about different topics. So this one was more so on heritage and kind of specifically the challenges of heritage conservation, preservation, and infill development. So I was joined with David Ridley from the EHC. And yeah, we just talked with the co-hosts, Mac Mail and Tim Karengesser from Taproot on Friday, November 7th over the lunch hour, just chatting about heritage. You can see what we talked about in depth through the link in the notes here, if you are interested. So that was kind of a nice little opportunity to just keep getting the HB out in the public sphere. People might not have known about us before that, or they might have seen a couple blurbs that we wrote in the journal this past summer. So yeah, just want to keep on that advocacy train a bit. So it was great that we were able to schedule that in. And on to some more regulatory stuff. So we actually have a motion here to update our orientation manual, because someone, might have been Kyle or someone else, brought up that we no longer have a heritage outreach committee. Like, that's not really, A, we don't have something called that anymore. And B, we don't really, we do heritage outreach, but we don't have a specific committee for it. So that's kind of more the purview of our current engagement committee. So we saw that as as an issue that needed to be rectified through like a reformation into the engagement committee. So here we have a motion that I'm just going to put forward now. Actually, I guess before I put that motion forward, any questions about this orientation manual specific issue, Heritage Outreach Committee? Any questions, concerns about basically updating it to reflect what we currently do before I put that motion forward? And I think we also discussed it, I guess, as well in October, but we never voted on it, and that has to happen for us to update it. That's another key consideration. Okay.
Also moved, Chair.
Yep. Thank you, Mark. So I'll just read it into the record here. I move that the Heritage Outreach Committee be reformed into the Engagement Committee. All in favor, or actually all opposed, let me know, because we usually don't have many dissenting opinions, which is great. No hands are raised. I don't see anybody yelling at me, so we'll assume that is passed. So we will update our orientation manual to reflect our current engagement committee structure. And another point as well, if and when you do go look at the orientation manual, I recommend you all do just to, just get familiarized with it. See anything else that isn't correct or needs to be updated, definitely let me or Catherine or Mitchell know, or we can just bring it forward in January. Just because we do have to vote on any changes to the orientation manual as a board. So just a bit of homework for all of you to do over the next couple of months here. And one other, I guess the last point of my report here, it's more Kyle's items, because he brought this forward so gratefully. But the Garneau Community League, I think we've been talking about this for a few months now, or even maybe the past couple of years, but they've been struggling with, development pressures, being close to the U of A, and as well as a general area of interest for developers in the city, like due mainly to that proximity to the U of A. So we have been put in touch with them countless times about them trying to find ways to combat infill in their area. Like, they're not anti-infill, but they just want to have a bit more regulations and thoughtfulness done put forward with their infill design that they're seeing in their neighborhood. So they've partnered up with O2 Planning and Design, just a consulting firm that has an office here in the city. And they're actually, like, the Garneau Community League is actually putting forward a proposed district plan amendment to that end, to try and create a bit more design guidelines around infill in Garneau. So I think it might be something similar to what Westmount has with the Westmount Architectural Heritage Area, which I think kind of makes sense. Garneau is a pretty significant neighborhood in terms of just Edmonton's history, and has a lot of heritage character, and I could see them wanting to try and keep preserve and celebrate that. And Kyle, I'll let you take over here, just because you have a bit more background on this item.
Thanks, Harrison, and not a ton more, but I'm happy to speak to it anyway. Danielle had reached out, I think, through Mitchell, and perhaps that had made its way through to the Historical Resource Review Panel. I'm not totally clear on that for the email trail, but basically we had the previous delegation from the Strathcona Community League, or I should say the Garneau Community League. Pardon me, I apologize. And they're now kind of, it sounds like, approaching the place where they're putting pen to paper, and as Harrison indicated, developing potential amendments to be brought forward. So I think the invitation is there for anybody around this board table who wishes to participate in those conversations and to have input and make suggestions. That Danielle had indicated that either a subsequent meeting of the engagement committee in December, or perhaps it's simply a matter of they come back in the new year and make an updated presentation once they've got more of a framework of what's actually going to be proposed. So there's kind of the two pieces to it. I won't necessarily put anybody on the spot and ask for an expression of interest right now, but maybe if anybody is interested in participating in that process, that you can either reach out to Harrison or Mitchell or myself and be put in touch with Danielle, and go from there. I think it'd be interesting to have at least one of our board members in the conversation, but I think it's as simple as that for now. The hope had been that maybe they'd be able to join us tonight, but for one reason or another that wasn't to be. So yeah, happy to take questions, but that's my understanding of the situation as it is now.
Great. Thanks, Kyle.
Mark has his hand raised.
Yeah, Harrison, I just remember that they did a very, I thought, very effective presentation. Was what, January or February? And I think they raised a couple of very interesting points, and I certainly wish them success in what they're pushing forward, because literally just about, just on the drive here, you see empty lots all along the corners of 109th coming into downtown from the south side. And you're sort of going, well, if these lots are sitting empty, why is the city allowing infill in the middle of these lots? Let's maybe look at filling in those outside areas first. And so I wish them all success in that regard, because I think they made a very effective presentation, and certainly a couple of points resonated with me afterwards. So
no, thanks, Mark. Yeah, it's a fair point. And I think Kyle, you brought up the engagement committee. I don't know, maybe potentially they could, have a quick chat with us about their next steps here with this potential amendment. Try and get that, maybe even hold the engagement committee meeting before the end of December. And then they can potentially come back to the full board in January if they're so inclined to, kind of present that again, and maybe they have a bit more details, because they also might, I'm not sure when they're planning to go to city, to the public hearing on this item, but maybe they'll have a bit more details for us after Christmas. So maybe Catherine Mitchell, we can, put out an engagement committee meeting request on a commission that, of course, Danielle and, maybe members of the Garneau community can make it, just to chat with us before the Christmas break.
yeah, because I think one of the points that I took away from that was let's get the city away from using a sledgehammer when perhaps a scalpel can work, and meet objectives set by council, as well as paying attention to the local community's concerns, as well as the reality on the ground. It's sort of like, let's not just holus bolus apply one policy across the board. So
yeah, no, agreed. Okay, yeah, on that item, other than the engagement committee, potential engagement committee meeting for December, any questions, thoughts on this? Anybody?
Just if I could respond and to say that it's unclear to me what the preferred model would be. I had sent a follow-up this afternoon as well to inquire whether it's a matter of us showing up to a meeting that they're holding, or us scheduling a meeting and hosting them.
Yeah,
I don't have clarity on that at this point, so I'm hopeful to hear in the next day or two, and perhaps coming out of that, we can circulate the information just by email.
Kyle, do you remember when they started working with this O2 planning?
Mark, I don't have the specifics of exactly when O2 was engaged, but just in the last little while is my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, well then maybe we'll wait. Yeah, I guess Kyle, you'll be the point person on this, since you've been talking to Danielle. And actually Angeli from the Community League actually reached out to David Ridley and I think it was yesterday or this morning, just with some additional details just about going through the process of the amendment with as the Community League, as the applicant, which isn't too typical. Usually you see like a consultant or a developer bring forward amendments or rezoning applications, not usually a Community League. So it's definitely a different approach, but something that they're totally allowed to do. It's not like anybody can apply for rezoning or an amendment. It's just a matter of will they be successful and have the resource to do so. So yeah, Kyle, maybe just keep us in the loop on when you hear back from Danielle and potential next steps in advance of maybe a meeting or having them join our January meeting after the break. Who knows?
Sounds like a plan, and I'm taking from this at least one expression of interest to participate in an active way. So I'll go from there. I appreciate it.
Yep. No, thanks, Kyle. Great. So that's yeah, the end of my chair report here. We're all 50 minutes into it. Okay, so next item, we have obviously 2 new council liaisons, co-liaisons. Councillor Clark, Councillor Morgan. Councillor Clark is not able to make it today, but I think he will be at our January meeting, so it's already in his calendar. And Councillor Morgan, his EA said he might be able to pop into this meeting. Unsure as of yet, but hasn't outright said no. But again, I think he also will be able to make our January board meeting. But pretty interesting because they're 2 brand new councilors, so and both seem quite interested in heritage from what I've heard. So looking forward to chatting with them more. I actually have an introductory meeting with them on December 19th, just on a Friday, to kind of meet with them, talk shop about heritage, and get to know them a little bit better. And of course, following that meeting, I can definitely confirm whether they'll hopefully be at our January meeting at the end of the month then, just to meet everybody. Okay, so moving on down to David and Sydney. I see David online here, and I think Sydney's also online here. So I'll give it over to you folks for your report.
Great. Thanks, Harrison. Good evening, everyone. We'll do I guess this will be our year-end report effectively. So we kind of structured it that way. So I'll walk through some of this for you and give some updates. So no more designations going forward to council for the rest of this year. So that brings us to a total of 8 designations for 2025. So we had a reasonably busy year this year. All privately owned buildings, no city-owned buildings this year, and quite a few residences, which is always nice to see. The larger buildings, commercial buildings, institutional buildings, not in all cases, but generally speaking, they have more access to financial support and loans, and they can sort of handle those types of projects. Homeowners, it's much more of a challenge to take on a $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 rehabilitation to your heritage home. So it's always something that we really feel shows the commitment these individual owners have to not only the preservation of their own home, but retaining the character and charm of communities and Edmonton's history and things like that. So it's great to work with these individual homeowners. Out of our 8 designations, 6 of them were houses. So it's good to see that. Total funding that we have allocated through these designations in 2025 is just under 1.5 million. So it was a good year that way. So looking ahead into 2026, we are going to be hitting the ground running very similar to this year. We've got 7 applications already in the pipeline for council approval or about to get into that because we have complete applications from owners. So I'll just run through our immediate upcoming ones for early in the new year. No particular order other than just sort of nearest ones to the finish line. So Peter Hemingway Aquatic Center Coronation Pool. The notice of intention to designate memo was issued to council on October 31st, and it is now scheduled for the January 21st Executive Committee and January 27th City Council meetings for final approval. On the exact same timeline is Harcourt House. That notice of intention also issued on October 31st in the same committee and council dates. Peter Hemingway, we're not providing any grant funding as it's a city-owned property. And you'll recall with Harcourt House, we provided a $500,000 grant, which was the maximum they could qualify for under our program, but got direction and support from council to provide that funding to the We Can Society at Harcourt House towards the purchase of the building from the provincial government versus rehabilitation work on the building itself. So a little bit of a different approach, but condition of that funding from the city was designation of the building, and the new owners have come in the door and submitted the proper application for that. So those two are going at the end of January. We've got a handful of other ones where we have applications have been submitted, and our report is actually just a little bit out of date already. The Barker Myron residence that Sydney is handling, the notice of intention was issued to council today on that one. So that one's in the formal process now. That's a property in Spruce Avenue. We have 2 or 3 other ones where we have full applications that have been submitted, and we're just in the process of getting the notice of intention to designate memo prepared and issued to council probably in the next week or 2. So that includes the Ukrainian National Federation of Canada building on 98th Street in Macaulay, the Elizabeth Bell residence on the 70th Street just north of 112th Ave in Bellevue, the Greaspaw Physical Training Building in Greaspaw. And then Sydney just let me know ahead of the meeting that we have an complete application essentially for the Sydney, I think it's the Wood residence on 109th A Avenue in Westmount.
The Reed residence, also in Westmount.
Oh, Reed residence, right, okay.
Yeah. The Wood residence is another one that I think is close to a full application, so that might be a slightly later 2026, but
right.
The Reed residence is right next door to the Crawford residence, which was designated about a year ago. So, and they've got a sort of similar look, so it'll be nice to have the sibling houses protected side by side.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, first 2 or 3 months of the year next year, half dozen or so more designations moving forward to council. So we're pleased to see that momentum continuing into the new year. On the flip side, I guess just some updates on demolitions. So we're again, this report is already out of date by one. We had processed for 2025. We'd processed 14 applications to demolish buildings on the inventory. It's now 15. We've just confirmed that the application process for demolition of the Spruce Avenue School is now in play. So we'll be working on that one as well. So an unfortunate busy year on demolitions. A couple of them were due to fire. There was just recently, as you might have seen in the news, the Northwestern Utilities demonstration house on 102nd Avenue in Glenora was lost due to an arson incident on the 2 infill homes next door to it. That house was unfortunately caught up in that fire and has basically been demolished. We haven't processed a permit for that. We don't sometimes in certain cases, we don't ultimately see a permit when there's a fire situation, but sometimes it just goes straight to building permit to clean up the site. But the other fire was also a home in Glenora, the Martin residence just off Connaught Drive. That was more of just an accidental fire inside the home, and the damage was extensive enough that they have just recently demolished that building. And then the Wellington Bridge, also in Glenora, the demolition has been initiated on that structure, which is listed on the inventory. So a range of situations and circumstances, but a busy year, unfortunately, with demolitions. I'll just turn it into the report discussion now. Sydney, I'll turn it over to you to give the update on Heritage Places strategy. I know there's been some fresh engagement and stuff. We may not need a full breakdown, but just why don't you give the broader group an update on where things are at?
Can do. We are in the thick of phase 2 engagement for our strategy. So many thanks to Harrison and Kyle who attended one of our sessions that we held last week. So I'm sorry, I should have done this before. If you haven't seen the Engaged Edmonton Heritage Places strategy webpage yet, you can check it out. I just dropped a link in the chat. We've got our draft guiding principles and our draft pillars there. So this will form the framework for creating some policy directions. I really want to emphasize that it's a draft, so we've already received some great feedback on it, and we're open to more. We heard some great feedback in our focused conversations last week. We had 4 of them last week, and we've also got 3 meetings with our MOU partners this week. So we had a meeting this morning, and then we have another one tomorrow, and then a third one on Friday, which will be great. They've been really wonderful conversations already, getting a lot of really good questions and comments. Just to jump back to the Engaged Edmonton page, you can ask further questions, and there's also a survey there. So this is open till November 30th. You can also email us at heritagestrategy@edmonton.ca if you have any further things you want to add, or you can just email me anytime. And if you want to have a meeting to discuss this further, we can definitely talk about that. I was chatting with Marco and Jared, who are on the project team, and we thought about reaching out to you about maybe a December one, but December is kind of a tough time to arrange for a special meeting. So we don't necessarily have to decide it today, but maybe we can look to either the January meeting or maybe early January if you'd like to meet a little bit earlier. But once the engagement closes, we'll be preparing a second phase 2 what we heard report and making that public. And we'll get to work on actual strategy development in Q1 2026. So yeah, really busy time, really fun and exciting. And I apologize if I don't quite sound as peppy as I normally do. Maybe I never sound peppy. I don't know. I've had a lot of 12-hour days lately, so it's all fun. I'm doing my best to keep the energy up. Kyle?
Sydney, David, I just wanted to express enthusiasm for the work to date, and I know that you've been putting in several long days back to back recently, so thank you for doing that. And it was an interesting discussion that Harrison and I sat in on, and I can only imagine the others were of a similar dynamism. So thanks.
Yeah, it's been really good, and I really appreciate the time everyone's been giving to it. Yeah, I think I've gone over everything I wanted to for that, so I can toss it back to you.
Super, thanks, Sydney. And Kyle, your thanks are entirely directed towards Sydney. I'm really only peripherally involved with the heritage strategy. I'm letting others run with that, and so Sydney's been carrying the load that way, balancing her day-to-day work with all the work on the strategy. So I'll reserve all that praise for her. So I'll touch on a couple of other things, then we'll move on to any questions anyone has. We're just about wrapped up with the long saga of Hangar 11. As I think we didn't reference in October with the canceled meeting, but in September, Council formally repealed the designation bylaw of Hangar 11 now that the building is gone, and our attempts to work with the owners on a faithful reconstruction of the building were not successful. So the funding that we had allocated for that project will be reallocated to other designation projects that we come across. And the city is going to be moving ahead at some point with the sale of the property. They are in the process right now of going through a surplus confirmation circulation on the site with the intention for a sale of the property at some point in the future. So that's effectively closing the book on our involvement with that project. We will be early in the new year. We do these follow-up site inspections to buildings that we haven't been to in some time. We did 3 in 2025, and the team will be gathering early in 2026 to identify some properties that we'll be doing the same for in the new year. A couple other city-owned updates: the Strathcona Public Market building on 83rd Avenue and the Connaught Armory, also in Old Strathcona, are both still currently for sale. There's links to the sales listings in our report. Both projects have received submissions from interested parties, and we're in the process of reviewing those and shortlisting, and then going through a process to decide which submissions will be successful. So technically those listings are still open, but we will be getting into a process here in the not too distant future with our real estate colleagues on selecting proposals for acquisition of those two properties. The Connaught Armory is, of course, already a provincial and municipal historic resource. So we've been working closely with Alberta Culture on that process. And the Strathcona Public Market building, it's been identified that the strong consideration will be made towards proposals that designate that building as a municipal historic resource, although it's not 100% required. So we're waiting to see where we get with that. A little further down, I included a link in the report. Some of you may be aware, it's starting to make the rounds a little bit, that the city has issued a request for information seeking partners for redevelopment. Call of expression of interest basically for the Rossdale power plant. So there's an active listing on the Alberta Purchasing Connection. If you go to the link in the report, you can get to that. And basically what we're looking at here is it's being coordinated through our real estate team, and it's basically a recognition that the scale of the undertaking at Rossdale Power Plant is going to need a coordinated partnership approach. So the decision was made to start seeking interest from groups out there who would want to partner with the city to look at the rehabilitation, the initial rehabilitation work, and then the longer term repurposing of the complex. It's got a long timeline. The responses are due April 30th of 2026. I'll be involved with a series of walkthroughs with interested parties early in the new year. So we'll keep you posted on where that goes, and certainly feel free to advance that around to your networks. Obviously, we want as much interest in this as possible. So we'll keep you posted on where that's going. And just a couple of other quick updates. The rehabilitation work on the Edmonton Ironworks is largely complete to the extent that we were able to fund. It's not a complete finished building. Tenant improvements of a significant nature will still be required for somebody to move in, but the building will be turned over to the city by the end of this year from the construction management company. And the city is actively just reviewing options for the reuse of that building. We are hopeful that we'll get the green light to designate the building, but that's likely going to be subject to the ongoing conversations regarding city-owned historic resources through the management strategy that we're working on into next year. And just for those that might have been in the area recently, the Mill Creek Trestle Bridge, they have done tree clearing in proximity to the Trestle Bridge and the 76th Avenue Bridge with advance look to the disassembly of the historic Trestle Bridge and the closure of the 76th Avenue Bridge starting early in 2026. So it's a combination project of a replication of the historic bridge and then a new vehicle/multi-use pedestrian trail bridge on 76th Avenue. So the tree removal has just happened in the last couple of weeks or so. So just in case you happen to be by there and you saw that and you were curious what's going on, that's kind of where that's at. So I'll wrap things up here. Sydney and I are here for any questions that you might have.
Thanks, David. Any questions for David or Sydney on their heritage report? Not hearing anything. And yeah, just David, just to confirm, there's no tenants in mind for the ironworks right now, right? Still looking for somebody?
Yeah, there's just discussions are ongoing, potentially with city administration, potentially using the space, but the door is open for other interested parties, I believe. Mm-hmm. So, but nothing of a firm nature at all.
Okay, great. Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, Harrison. On the Epcor Powerhouse update, it's it's really exciting. It's a long time coming. I have two questions. One pertains to, I haven't been following the budget process as closely as I would have liked to, and perhaps even I'll be outing myself if budget hasn't even kicked off yet. But I noticed there's a roof replacement item, and I'm wondering if there's any update on that. Otherwise, I guess I just would ask if there's a plan to sort of be reaching out to any of the ecological groups, especially just because I've seen on social media already some chatter formulating opposition to doing anything with the site, which I think would be a real shame. I know that you had arranged for several board members to do a tour of the site last year, so now 2 Octobers ago, and it was really quite a memorable opportunity. So I thank you for that. And so those are the two questions that I had.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. In terms of the roof, there is my understanding is that our real estate colleagues are advancing a budget item this fall for roof replacement, which will be on the turbine hall portion, the longer, shorter building. That involves not only a replacement of the roof, but also some additional structural reinforcement that is going to be required in that roof system due to the new building code requirements for snow loads. Through the assessment work on the building, it was determined that we needed to reinforce the roof. We could not just replace like for like. So that's largely the budget ask is to accommodate that work on the building, and I think potentially some additional structural upgrade work on the boiler hall as well, because the work back in 2015 was sort of more of emergency repairs and not longer term kind of thing. So there's not currently funding for that work, hence the budget ask. So we're hopeful that will get some positive reception from council so we can move that forward. In terms of the ecological side of things, I'll certainly bring that to the attention of our real estate colleagues regarding the expression of interest. You know, obviously the repurposing of the building itself is largely focused on its interior, and there is a plan for the Touch the Water redevelopment all along the river's edge, which certainly includes a plaza, which recently just won an urban design award, but plaza to the immediate west of the building in the open space that's currently there. You know, obviously these are sensitive grounds, they're disturbed grounds, but they're also sensitive, you know, culturally and ecologically. So, you know, anything that goes on in there, I can only imagine there'll be that input, but I'll certainly pass those thoughts along to our main contact who's coordinating all of that work in our real estate group, just for her awareness. And she may already have come across some of these this commentary, but I'll let her know for sure.
Great. Thanks, David. Any other questions for David or Sydney? Not seeing anything. Great. Thank you both, as usual, for comprehensive report. And yeah, appreciate your work, of course, on the heritage strategy. I know it's a big body of work, but it's got to get done. So thanks, especially to Sydney, for the long hours. I know you're, you know, spending all night, all day.
Yeah, I'm just grinding.
Yeah, you're not stopping about, you know, thinking about heritage, that's for sure. Great. Thanks a lot. Yeah, so we actually have a guest in attendance today, Matthew Dance, chair of the naming committee. He will be providing a presentation here. I'll just give my brief update after him, just so he can, you know, leave if he would like to, just because we've been keeping it for a while here. So Matt, yeah, I think you're online here. Mind introducing yourself, naming committee, and then yeah, just going through your brief presentation.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really grateful to be here to talk about the naming committee. My name is Matt Dance. I'm the chair of the naming committee. I've been chair for about a year, and I've been on the committee for about 4, and have been really, I know, excited to be doing this work. My background is in physical and human geography, and I'm a bit of a place name nerd, so I'm really honored to be able to do some of the work on the naming committee. I have about 8 slides in total, maybe 6 in with of substance. So let me share the screen and jump right in. And if you have any questions or comments, please just hop in and ask away. Are you able to see my content?
Yep, looks good.
Great.
Yep.
Okay. I'm hoping to talk about our mandate, what our process looks like, our 2025-26 work plan, kind of the broader direction that we're going in, and maybe some brief thoughts on intersection with heritage. So the naming committee's mandate is rooted in bylaw 17138, and essentially our mandate is to name all civic assets, and those assets include development areas, parks, municipal facilities, roads, honorary roads, wards, etc., etc. In accordance with and subject to any exemptions or restrictions imposed by city policy. So the bylaw indicates that we are a decision-making board and that we have autonomy to make decisions on behalf of city council. And I'll get to this in a few minutes, but we also have some exemptions to that where exceptional names may be ratified by council. Our current policy C509C, which was approved in August of 2021, highlights the need for discussions and names around municipal partnerships with Indigenous communities, local Indigenous histories, Edmonton's diverse communities, both historical and growing, and their contributions, as well as flora, fauna, and natural features of the community. Our real mandate, or our real idea around this, is to move away from naming places for people and focusing on the natural world, as well as relationships with key communities within Edmonton. Our naming process is predicated on essentially 3 streams of naming application. We get applications from developers, from citizens, as well as from the city of Edmonton themselves. And essentially, the application is run through administration. So often there's a back and forth to make sure that all the appropriate documentation is put forward for the naming application. You know, the name, the rationale for the name, the geographic area being named, maps to support it, and if it's a citizen application, what sort of supporting documents can you provide to make sure that they've done due diligence to connect with and develop the application with a community league or some other such body. Developer and city applications, we tend to hold to a higher standard in terms of citizen and community engagement. We want to make sure that the name is appropriate for the place, and that a lot of work has been done to make sure that it's in alignment with what folks who are living adjacent to the name want. So it goes through the admin to the naming committee. We discuss typically the bread and butter names happen. The approval happens very quickly within a meeting. If there are more complex names, it could take weeks, months, and sometimes up to a year for our approval. And then if it's an exceptional name, that name would be ratified by city council. But honestly, most of our names aren't brought to city council. We also support ad hoc processes. For instance, the Wequentuin renaming process that occurred in what is now Wequentuin, what was Oliver. We provided some process advice when they were ready, when the Wequentuin Community League was ready to approve or move forward with the name. They brought it to the naming committee, and then we supported that name as it went to City Council. Our work plan is to support, includes items such as supporting the ad hoc renaming process. Like Wequentuin, there's one ongoing right now to rename the Government Center LRT station that we were involved with through October, and we'll be meeting again with an Elders Circle in January. We're really supporting admin's work to complete the City of Edmonton's place name data set. And our hope is to have this published on the City of Edmonton's open data portal in January, February 2026. And highlighted in blue is to review all the names in the data set for metadata data accuracy and appropriateness. This is something that we are working with admin with. It's not going to fall to the naming committee, but will probably be a broader committee representing the diversity of communities within Edmonton, including those nations through the Confederacy of Treaty 6 Nations. We also are working on the development of a culturally sensitive community-involved renaming process, severing the relationship between the naming policy C509C and the facility name sales policy. There was a real tension around this when we are, for instance, being asked to approve a Booster Juice recreation center in replacing Terwilliger Recreation Center. We felt that the name had already been approved and that it wasn't our place to challenge a decision that is being made by another committee, and that decision is being driven by financial reasons, not for placemaking or placekeeping reasons. We want to develop an Indigenous naming process, and we're currently reviewing the structure of the names reserved list and considering striking down the list altogether. We're due to present an updated policy to Council in Q4 of 2026. Just in the everyday discussion and working with the policy that was put forward in 2021, we've identified a number of kind of friction areas that we want to address. And we're then also looking to inform the development of the policy away from individuals to be individual names to be more inclusive, and looking to inform that discussion through a more formal engagement with the Treaty 6 Nations through the Indigenous Framework, the Edmonton Urban Aboriginal Accord, and the Memorandum of Cooperation and Dialogue between the City of Edmonton and the Treaty 6 Nation, Confederacy of Treaty 6 Nations. We're also looking to engage Indigenous scholars and policymakers in this process. So I like this quote from the Geographical Names Manual. Toponyms play an important cultural role by identifying our societal values and by serving as a medium to commemorate people and events. And although place names aren't material culture, they're a way that folks understand Edmonton through cultural heritage. So we're working on how to strike the balance of preserving the past while acknowledging past harms, working with nations within the Confederacy of Treaty 6 Nations to uncover heritage hidden by past and ongoing structures and events. And we can talk about a specific example of that, and hold space for discussions within Edmonton about the role of heritage, whose heritage we value, and what informs the growth and future of Edmonton. And with that, I'm really curious to hear what your thoughts are and whether or not there's any overlap with the naming committee and how we could perhaps build a strong relationship and work together.
Great. Thanks a lot, Matt. Yeah, appreciate you coming tonight, sharing your information on what the naming committee does, and what it wants to do in the future, and obviously connection to our group in the EHB. Yeah.
Did I miss
Yep.
anything, Harrison, or was that pretty?
That's pretty, yeah. It's very, very comprehensive, generally what the naming committee does. I usually, if we have a naming committee before this meeting, I usually will give the update on, what applications came in, across our desk. What did we have, what name did we look at and approve or not approve? And obviously talk about other projects that we're working on. Like, I'm going to mention Meltwater Boulevard, but yeah. So this is, a lot higher level, which is good, for this group. Any questions? Yeah, at all for Matt? While we have him. Mark, I see your hand up. Yeah, there you go.
Yes. Thanks, Matthew. It's an interesting presentation, and appreciate the information. I guess the question that I've got is, how did you decide which groups you were going to engage with as part of this policy analysis process? It seems like Indigenous is the only group that the committee is focusing on.
Well, at this stage, it is, honestly. It's the only group we're focusing on right now, and it's the first group, primarily because of existing relationships that we have with the Confederacy of Treaty 6 Nations and a commitment that we have, that the city has made with this memorandum of cooperation and understanding. So really, it's trying to leverage that relationship to get some deep insight into what kind of an Indigenous-based naming policy might look like. And then from there, we could take steps to engage with other communities within Edmonton.
Okay, and the only other thing I was going to comment on is, I think heritage is different than history. And I guess this is where I'm sure this is going to be part of our discussions at the historical board in our developing our strategies going forward and stuff. But I think you may want to take it back to the committee and sort of go, okay, heritage is one thing, but history could well be something else. And so are you guys just limiting yourself to heritage, or are you also looking at history?
Well, honestly, I think we're looking at both. My primary goal is to make sure that we're choosing names that are reasonable and representative of not just Edmonton, but the specific areas that are being named, and uncovering those names that are representative of how this place was or is seen through different cultural lenses. So, for instance, when we're doing the government center LRT renaming, we went through a process with an elders circle, and they were reflecting on pre-contact how First Nations used to drive buffalo across the river where the LRT bridge is. And because the LRT bridge is the first station either before or after the river, depending on which way you're going, they settled on a name that is representative of that. I don't know if it's history or heritage. You folks would be able to tell me better. That location called Buffalo Crossing. So I'm a geographer, and for me, that's a geographically accurate and culturally accurate name for a place, and represents how it was being used. And it's a much better name than what the name was, Grandin, representing someone who was venerated by a group of people, but other groups of people found very problematic. So
sure. No, and I appreciate the process. It's just you may want to minor recommendation include the word history along with heritage, because I really do think that they mean two different things.
Sure.
And I've tried to read various papers on what the difference might be. And I think to me, it's heritage, history is looking backwards as to events in our past, whereas heritage, I think, is a more active and a vibrant word entering in that community.
Right.
So if you are indeed looking at events from the past, then just a minor thing. I think the word history would come into play here as well. So
Okay.
and seeing where the historical board.
Right. Well, I appreciate that, and I'll certainly have a look at the difference and try and understand it and build that nuance into the conversations we're having.
David.
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation, and Matthew. Just I think the Edmonton Heritage Council would also be interested in connecting. We haven't. We've had occasional contact with the naming committee. We note the Edmonton Historical Board appointment. We haven't advanced any thoughts that, well, the Edmonton Heritage Council has a pretty wide practice and involvement in the community. Maybe we could be of some service. But you'll know that we've been around the table around the Government Center LRT renaming, and we'll continue to be active in that with the upcoming work. So we're glad of that. I appreciate Mark's comments on heritage and history. Yeah, I think there's some distinction, although widely speaking, I mean, we regard historical methodology and that practice as one of the things that heritage encompasses. But I think the remarks about identity and the forward-looking part of that are relevant as well. So I'm, in our practice, we understand the distinction. We don't spend a lot of time deliberating on it. We want to support both, and really draw on historical method or historical approaches, which often reside in more academic processes, not exclusively, but also how we connect those meaningfully into matters of identity and civic identity, because that's a lot of what this work is about in terms of citizens and the people and communities of Edmonton.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I appreciate that, and I apologize if I was a little bit loose with the language here, and I'll make sure to tighten that up.
We like the flexibility.
Great, thank you. Thanks, David. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Matthew. I didn't mean to cut you off in any kind of a follow-up there.
No, that's cool, Kyle. Go ahead.
Matthew, thank you for taking the time and joining us tonight. And I found the information engaging and useful. And I'll look back and probably rewatch your presentation a few times so I can fully unpack it. I think it's a fraught conversation, so I don't envy you in a lot of the contentious spaces that you have to occupy and try to facilitate some sort of a way forward. I think one point of curiosity that I have is if there's an actual framework that the naming committee relies upon to articulate the expectations to proponents for naming and renaming.
Yeah, the framework is the policy C509C. So okay. in the past, right? So I think this is a really interesting question from my perspective. So in the past, the naming committee, or prior to the naming committee, it was the names advisory committee. They were really focused on names that represented places that reflected a specific cultural heritage. And that cultural heritage was Western European or British. So if we did an analysis of those place names that are named after people, and found, I don't remember the numbers, but like in the order of 80 or 90% of those place names that were named after people were named after men. So the policy C509C isn't explicit, but it's really implicitly implying that we're looking for names for places that are not from that not from that lens, not from Western European, not from Britain, and not for men. Having said that, we do approve names all the time through that lens. It's just our preference is to have names that are based on flora, fauna, geography in other languages. So we had a couple of names last year that were names of flowers in the Filipino language in the Mill Woods that were representative of the community that was using the space. So that's kind of the emphasis that we're looking for, and that's the guidance that we get in this policy. It's a long way to answer your question, Kyle. Did I get there?
I think you did, and you pointed me back to the policy, and I'll look at it again, and again appreciate your time and appreciate the commentary around how inextricable heritage and history are. One interprets the past, and one tells us how the past matters to the present and into the future. So thanks for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Great, thanks, Kyle, and thank you, Matt. Just looking at our agenda here, we have quite a few items still to get through. So yeah, with that, yeah, thank you. Thanks, Matt, for accepting the invitation, coming with that great presentation, answering quite a few questions. And of course, if anybody else has any questions for the naming committee, Matt, you can talk to me as a representative or email Matt directly. You can see his email in the meeting agenda for this event. So with that, thanks, Matt. And yeah, you can stay on, you're free to go. It's up to you.
I'm going to leave, but I do really appreciate the opportunity to chat with you. Yeah, and if you have any questions, please feel free to email me.
Great. Yeah, thanks again, Matt. Appreciate you coming tonight.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Have a great afternoon. Bye.
Yeah, see you. Great. So with that item, yeah, I was just going to mention on the naming committee that we had our meeting on October 28th. So just after, a few days after our October board meeting. There was only one request to name a collector roadway within the Meltwater neighborhood, which is in, I'll just show a quick map here. It's in southeast Edmonton in the Dakota area. So not too much development happening right now, though it is ramping up. So just for everyone's awareness, where Meltwater is, it's this yellow like shape. So that's the neighborhood, Meltwater. We approved the name Meltwater Boulevard for I guess the main collector roadway through the neighborhood. But you can see, yeah, we're going to probably see some other applications coming in the door of the naming committee for these other neighborhoods as they develop out. Yeah, so that was the only application that we had for that October meeting, and we won't meet again till January, kind of like the HB, because we don't meet in December. So I won't have any updates until January for the naming committee. Great. So on that item being finished, we will move on to Donna with her Historian Laureate report. Donna, over to you.
Hey, good evening, everyone. And it's a pleasure to be here. I haven't been here for the last couple of meetings because I traveled in October to... What are you eating?
Smarty.
Anyway, I saw you in Montreal, in Halifax. Yes, yeah, we were together at a conference in Halifax, which was one of the conferences I attended in the last couple of months. A couple of weeks ago, I was in Montreal for a different conference and presenting at Le Travail at UQAM, at the University of Quebec at Montreal. So I'll get on with a short report of why I have been absent, and thanks to all of those who have done presentations before me. I learned from everyone, so I was listening keenly to see what applies to the knowledge I'm building while I'm in this role, because I intend to continue advocating after my term is done. So for the month of October, I'm just limiting my report to the last few weeks for now. So in the month of October, my activities are divided between events that I am responsible for or initiate, and events that I attend on behalf of my position. So during the month of October, I did attend an international Indigenous exchange between a touring team from Taiwan and the Enoch Cree Nation, and the event was held at the Enoch Cree Nation, and it involved visiting delegation of about 75 people from Taiwan who were performing. So I was invited to attend that event. I have been judging at different community competitions during the month. And I also hosted at LitFest, I hosted Paul Myers for the opening night of LitFest in October. That went over particularly well between Paul and I. We generated some chemistry. So the audience was particularly pleased that it wasn't very formal. It was rather relaxing, and it was co-hosted, I think, by EHC. And so I really appreciate the participation of the council and the board in community activities so that I'm able to represent in person. And when I say in person, I mean that my personality is involved in whatever I'm presenting. So continuing with the report, I particularly enjoyed Halifax because we had a day trip to an area called Birchwood. The team from Edmonton had helped to organize, and it was particularly important because there was so much similarity between, it resonated with past experiences I have in my own history and the history of the eastern coast of Birchwood, where we attended and visited a museum. So I see a story coming out of that experience, which is in my head still, but which I intend to write for my ongoing contributions to the city. There was an evening I spent at the Jubilee with provincial staff on October the 27th. I'm sorry I wasn't able to invite anyone else, but I did have an evening engagement with provincial staff who came in from all over the province, and it was exclusive to them, so I wasn't able to invite anyone else, but I did try to represent. Let me just leave it at that. I just returned from Montreal, as I mentioned, from a conference, and I do have a number of engagements lined up currently and going into January and February with the engagements for Black History Month. So I am initiating a number of activities with federal staff. I have a day with federal staff at Canada Place. And I have some city staff who have approached me for a different presentation. And I have a number of public library divisions where I'm making presentations, as well as in other fora. So my calendar is quite busy, and I hear Sydney's cry about lack of sleep. And I don't intend to sleep, Sydney, because I'm on the clock. I'm counting down to the end of my term. So I'm desperate to get so much done before my term is up. And so I'm really excited about the work that's being done, and collaborations, new collaborations that are taking place, and new communities that I'm able to approach, like seniors, and advocate for the work that we're doing in this division. And I'm really enjoying it. So thanks for the opportunity to represent, and I hope people find value in what I'm doing.
Yes, thanks, Donna. Yeah, we all really value all your hard work, and your busyness is a sign of that for sure. And I think for any speaking engagements that you might have, especially Black History Month coming up in February, if there's any public events that some of us members might be able to attend, yeah, just definitely send us an email just so we can know where and when to find you, because I'm sure some of us, if all of us, would be interested in hearing you speak at some of those events. So
Okay.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, because like you said, yeah, the end's coming up soon, so we want to try and
Yes.
attend as
Just
much
to
as we
add,
can.
I have I'm attending the archives has a project that's being launched this Friday, and so I'll be at the archives with Catherine on Friday for that, because those are friends that are launching an archival project.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I'm sure maybe Catherine will mention that in her archivist report in a couple items here.
Yes.
Any questions, comments for Donna?
David just dropped a comment in the chat.
SCTV. Oh.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh, John Candy. Oh yeah.
yeah. He was he was the author of the book that was launched at LitFest. Paul Myers is the author.
Oh, okay.
The subject was John Candy. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's a funny guy. That's cool.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Thanks for sharing that, David. And of course, yes,
Yes.
Donna.
Thank you, David.
Perfect. Any questions for Donna while we have her? Comments, anything like that? Of course, yeah, Donna, we always love hearing what you've been up to, and yeah, thanks again for continuing to do the work while you're on the term here with the HB. All right, so no comments or questions for Donna. I'm going to move on. Thanks again, Donna, to David Ridley here from the EHC.
Thanks, Harrison. Thanks, everybody. Nice being here this evening. Yeah, thanks, Donna. Great connection. You've been very busy, and the travel miles are piling up. I know that as well. So good for you, Laura. The great reach you're making. Quickly, just a first thought on this. I think what I would like to do is the EHB, and just in terms of participating in these meetings, I may just send along my executive director's report, my most recent one, which would, for Kyle, you would know would be at the November meeting, and maybe even just our board agenda. Those are things that are just, I think, quick references, and you can scan them. And if there's more you want to follow up on, please to do that. It gives you a more comprehensive view of some of the work we're up to, and then maybe more helpful in me needing, not needing to be quite as selective or think I'm being selective about what things might be of interest. On Historian Laureate, you'll know that we're with Donna here that the next cycle of selection will be starting. I'm just going to plant a seed here, which I'm still thinking about, or we're still thinking about. And none of this reflects on the fantastic work that Donna is doing, but we have thought over in the past about whether we should try and make with the Historian Laureate program, I would say, a bit of a stronger, it's not an exclusive connection with Edmonton Public Libraries. In our work as an organization around ECAMP, in particular, momentary museums and that, we think EPL, because of its reach around the city, the fact that it has such large usership, it does provide some programming opportunities that may be very useful for Historian Laureate, depending what their program and their preferences are. So we'll give that a little more thought. Maybe I can come back with something a little more structured in terms of how that would work. Again, it's not an exclusive arrangement. I think it just extends the reach that Donna and others have made through their work. Donna's already mentioned the National Trust Conference. That's great. Yeah, in the past I've mentioned we're working with some other provincial partners on creating an Alberta Heritage Places Network. Why should this matter to the historical board? Well, the aim of this is really, I think, to connect municipal heritage advisory boards, as well as consultants, professionals, and community individuals thinking about Alberta's heritage places. It really has an educational purpose. And we're planning a founding meeting that will be Q1 2026. So I'll provide more information on that. It'll be probably an in-person meeting somewhere in central Alberta, but there'll probably be an online portion to it that might be, a speaker or a panel that you might be interested in. I would also add around the table there where Heritage Calgary, Shabnam, who is the chair of the National Trust Board of Governors, and of course is oversees the Heritage Resources program at Athabasca University, is involved in that as well. So there's some good provincial and national connections that are useful in this. Recently, we finished a general population survey on perspectives on heritage in Edmonton. I'm not going to say more about that, but again, maybe I'll send this along just for your general information. We as an organization have done this, I guess this is the second time in the last 4 or 5 years. it's interesting to see how we use it, what analysis it goes into, or how we analyze it and act on it. That's a a more a further question. But just for general information, you might like to see perspectives on heritage in Edmonton, and not all of that is limited or even focused on necessarily on heritage or heritage places, historic places, but it's certainly an element of that. Yeah, I think that's it. As been mentioned, we've had an active programming. There's an active programming month. We have a members' night tomorrow. Dan Rose of Arch Madness fame, amongst others, and one of your former chairs and board members, will be doing a live version of Arch Madness. This is at Frank's Pub on 99th Street, Frank's Pub. So you can, if you're signed up for that, that's great. If you're interested, you'll be able to find it through some of our communications. We've recently had a trivia night and a momentary museum. So it's been active. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'll send along those other documents just for information. And if those are useful, then that's good. It's something I can do on a regular basis. And if any questions on anything you might have in mind or otherwise, I'm happy to respond, but otherwise, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, David. Yeah, good idea with the executive director's report, just sending that in advance. Just, yeah, get a wholesome view of what, you and the EHC are up to. That makes a lot of sense. Any questions, comments for David while we have him? Not seeing anything, and seeing we have 42 minutes left. So I'm gonna move right along here because we still have some motions to pass, hopefully. Yes, thank you, David, of course, for coming as usual. And we move on to Catherine in the room with Mark to give your archivist report.
Thank you. It has been a busy couple of months, like David mentioned. There's lots of programs going on, plus a lot of the corporate stuff has been going on. Thanks to Sydney and Jared and Eric for the Heritage Places strategy. That was a very enjoyable session. I went out very energized at the end of that, which is unusual at the end of the day. There's other things going on that I did attend the renaming thing for Grandin Station today as well. So that those kind of corporate things are going on as well. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but a lot of heritage or historic programs happened during the teachers' strike, where the city tried to pick up a lot of opportunities for childcare and engagement during that period. So both the John Walter Museum and the Fort Edmonton Park ran a series of day camps for kids during that period as well. I'm not sure if you're aware, but the transition for Fort Edmonton Park coming back under the city community services branch is moving ahead. There's recruitment going on right now for a new director and management and 3 management supervisors. So there's lots of activities going on down there, which we're kind of engaged in here tangentially to support the work that's going on. And that all happens December 28th. Everyone who was with Fort Edmonton Park, who's taken a job with the city, will become city employees on that date. And by January, we will be fully in charge of Fort Edmonton Park. We had a lot of groups come in. A lot of our community members, our partners came in October and November. We had a drag queen event here. We've had a Latin cooking demonstration here. And the thing that Donna mentioned on Friday at 11 is the Waja Drumming organization, who are moving towards donating their records to the archives. They're bringing in as many of their fans and community members to, if you're in the building, some of you are in the building, you'll hear drumming moving from the archives starting at 11 o'clock. But yeah, it's been a very busy month or a couple of months for that. And I actually mentioned David's pub tomorrow because Jia Yang, who's our community archivist, is the other member speaking beside Dan Rose. So it's a good night for history and heritage and archives. And then just the community, the curators have also been busy supporting other activities in the city. I don't know if anyone went to the Matark Conservatory's Fleur de Ville exhibit, but the curators put on, had a special window display as well, and they just recently turned that out for Christmas. So if you attend the Matark, you don't even have to pay. You can go in and see the window displays before you get to the pay area. And there are now 6 pop-up locations around the city, including libraries, rec centers, and community hubs. So we're going to grow that program over this next year as well. So we're hoping by the end of 2026, we'll have 9 locations where the exhibits will be running around the city. So that's my report.
Thanks, Catherine. Yeah, definitely busy. I don't know how we get all those all those events you're having at the archives over to the office here, but jealous. You're getting all the fun over there. So I guess I'll just have to go visit you at some point. Maybe give the board a heads up when you have like some dance number, singer songwriter coming by, and we'll pop over.
If anyone's on Instagram, we always advertise them there a few days ahead of time.
Oh, perfect. So I guess you mentioned Fort Edmonton Park. I guess January 1st, then FEMCO probably already ceases to exist now, right? Like it's just only City of Edmonton managing everything?
No, they're in charge until December 27th.
Okay.
And then the city's taking over then.
And in terms of parks operations, next year onward, there shouldn't be much of a difference from like an attendee's perspective, right?
No, the public should not see it. It should be a seamless transition. We're just working with some of the legal transitions of agreements and of course making sure that everyone has a contract to be a worker.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But looking forward to getting back there next year under new ownership. And I guess, they of course have the Christmas market. Is that happening again this year, Catherine, the Christmas market? Yes.
Hello. Yes. Sorry. Are there, Catherine? Do you want me to answer that?
No, sorry. I was. The Christmas market is ongoing, and there's a Christmas train too this year.
Oh, cool.
As long as it doesn't freeze.
Oh yeah, that's okay. No, that's good to know. I'm good at Fort Edmonton Park for Christmas, and in general, go visit. Any questions for Catherine on her report or the archives activities, anything like that? I do appreciate Catherine just seeing the little archives exhibit set up all over the city. Like I was at the Woodcroft Library on I think Sunday, and I saw a little exhibit there.
They're not archives exhibits; they're the museum services exhibits. So that's the curators.
Okay. But in general, just seeing that all over the city is really nice. So hope they keep doing that. Great. I'm not seeing any questions for Catherine, so thank you, as usual, for your comprehensive report. Okay, so I think I saw James pop on here for the Historic Resources Review panel. And James, I know you weren't at the...
Harrison, if I could just... Unfortunately, I'm going to have to be dashing off at about 6:30. So if I disappear, that's why. So
Okay. No, thanks for that, Mark. We'll still have quorum, of course, so that shouldn't be an issue. James, so do you want to take this, or do you want me to take this? James, I see your mic is off, or I see are you trying to talk? I'm not hearing anything. Okay, well, with this one, oh, something's wrong with my mic. Okay. Yeah, no problem. What I'll do is I'll just give a quick rundown of the 2 applications to amend the inventory, and then we can basically vote on, no concerns. Okay, great, thank you. So we can just kind of go right into the 2 applications. I'm just trying to see if I have motions from when we last met here. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so the first one, the long residence, that's in Garneau, Windsor Park. That is in Windsor Park on Saskatchewan Drive. The address is 11615 Saskatchewan Drive. You can see that here. I'm just going to pull up a quick Google image here. Actually, well, I know there's an archive report. I just am trying to see if I can find it quickly here. Because Google Street View, like if you look at it on Street View, there's some trees in the front of the house. It's kind of tough to see. Actually, let me share my screen here really quick. You can kind of see it. This is this is the best it can do in Street View from 2009. But there's the house. Has a few additions on the back, but generally good integrity on the front. I don't think there's too many houses in Windsor Park that are actually designated. So whenever something like this comes along, it's a pretty easy recommendation to the board for approval to add to the inventory. And yeah, in terms of details here, sorry, I'm just trying to see if I can find this HRP agenda, then I can actually give you folks some more details on this one, because it wasn't that long ago where we met to talk about this. Here we go. So it was we met on the 18th of November, so just last week actually. Okay, this will be a bit better. Please hold. I'm going to pull up the evaluation form here. Okay, here we go. So now we're cooking. This is the evaluation form, of course. Georgian Revival's architecture style, built in 1931. So one of the first houses actually built in Windsor Park. The area was subdivided, but no actual development happened for I think about 10, 15, 20 years after that original subdivision occurred, just due to World War I, etc. You can see here the Windsor Park subdivision plan originally, and then from 1911 nothing happened until 1930 when this was one of the first houses being developed here. You can kind of see in this aerial image from 1930. It's added, you can see it again as the development occurs. So present day, as we saw in Street View, right on Emily Murphy Park Road and 116th Street, kind of on Saskatchewan Drive. It's just a interesting intersection here, but you can kind of see the house current day, present day. So stucco exterior, some original features above the front doorway, some of the original windows. And yeah, most of this on the back, these additions obviously are not original, but you can kind of see the original part of the house kind of above these additions here. Yeah, of course, replaced windows, these aren't original, but the form scale of massing is more or less original to invisibility. You can actually see here based on the blueprints, the original blueprints, that it has that integrity still. And here's actually a neat photo of it under construction in 1931. And the south elevation, of course, without any additions, looks quite a bit different from the south. Or sorry, that's south. Yeah, so that's the behind part of the house, and that's the front. That's right. Yeah, the north side is the front side. Sorry, I just got confused there. And then yeah, here is the finished house in 1931 from Saskatchewan Drive, the north facade. And here's the rear facade, obviously original without any of those additions. So the review panel thought it had enough integrity to be added to the inventory. So here's the description of place: 2.5-story Georgian Revival residence in Windsor Park. And person of significance that is connected to this house is Cecile Burgess, who was an architect, and I believe was the one of the first and only professors of architecture at the University of Alberta. Correct me if I'm wrong, David and Sydney, but I know there's some connection there from Cecil. Yep. Yeah, thank you. And yeah, he designed the house, which is pretty neat. So, and his actual house is kind of on the opposite side of the U of A campus, the Cecile Burgess residence, which is a designated municipal historic resource. So the 1931 long residence is valued for its association with early residential development in Windsor Park during the interwar Depression era, et cetera, et cetera. Lots here. Don't have the time to read through it, but it's really good research. Thank you, David, Sydney, and I think Jared actually helped with this one as well from the heritage side.
Yep, yeah, Jared put this one together. Yeah. So
exactly, there we go. So yes, thank you to Jared. So the board or the review panel puts forward the motion that the Edmonton Historical Board recommend to the administration I'll say to administration, just I'm getting wordy here, but to administration at the Longhouse at 11615 Saskatchewan Drive, Northwest, because we have weird quadrants, be added to the inventory of historic resources in Edmonton. So anybody that doesn't agree with that, say something or raise your hand, because I don't think there's going to be anybody.
Harrison, just a minor point. You referenced the long house. We use residence. Just so the letter from the EHB references the normal practice, so it'd be the long residence.
Yes, fair. No thing, and I think too, Longhouse, people might connect that to different connection. An Iroquois Longhouse or something, right? So yeah, good call there, David. Thanks for that clarification. The long residence, not Longhouse. So, not seeing any dissenting opinion on that motion, I will say that it has been passed, and David and Cindy will connect with urban planning and economy to have it added to the inventory. And the second item that we had at the review panel is a different asset. It's actually a community garden, and I believe it's the first community garden that's been brought forward to the panel in Edmonton, the Strathcona Rail Community Garden at 10543 6th Avenue. And if we want to go to that statement of significance here.
Oh, Harrison, there's a slightly amended one that I put in I put it in the EHB this meeting's folder, but I probably could have added it to the.
Oh no, that's okay. I'll
maybe it's also in that. I don't know. Don't listen to me. I don't know what folder I'm in right now.
You've been up too late, I think. Okay. Let's see if I can find our. Why can't I get our meeting?
You did send me a thing to update, Sydney, so
yes.
That might be the right one. And I think I would have changed the link.
Yeah, I was looking at the wrong folder, so it is in today's EHB folder.
Oh, here we go.
And
evaluation form. There we go.
Yeah, I can add it to the HRP one as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I see it here.
Places.
Can I just ask, since I seem to always have trouble finding these things, I saw the one on the agenda I saw, but I didn't see the long residence one. I don't know if that's just me or if I'm looking in the wrong place. They're kind of nice to look at in advance. So.
Yeah, no, you're right, John. It was only so I think in the future we can just add, if there's any applications to them in the inventory, we can just add those evaluation forms to our meeting agendas. Just for reference, of course, before the meeting, so we can review what we are looking to group for addition.
Yeah, but in this case, the Longhouse is okay. The owners are friends of mine.
Oh, well.
But I've been in it many times.
Our inside man. But yeah, good call, John. No, just moving forward, it'd be handy to, just make a copy of the evaluation form and have it in the meeting agenda. That's a good idea. Thank you. So I guess, Mitchell, Catherine, just for next time, we can, if there's anything to add, we can obviously have those added to the folder. And thank you. So the Strathcona Rail Community Garden, I think Kyle actually brought this one forward, or had some hand in it, as he usually does with these types of things. This one, I think 1924 is when it was first started, broken ground. So it's still a garden. It's I think the longest operating garden in Edmonton. So over 100 years now. It's on a triangular shaped piece of city-owned land in Strathcona. Let's see if we can find a photo. So here's the actual parcel in orange, and here's the satellite imagery. So you can see here, 106th Street, I think that is. And then here's 105th on the right-hand side. And then it's off of an alley here. And here's the streetcar tracks, or former CP rail line. So it's always been a remnant parcel. There's been nothing developed on it because it's been a garden the entire time. And with that history and connection to the Strathcona community, it was brought to the review panel to be added as an inventoried resource. And you can see here it's under cultivation 2013-2025, and you can see here the former original fire insurance plan. And I think there's actually here we go, some aerial imagery from 1924 when it first started. So you can see nothing was really developed, maybe a shed or two. Here you can kind of see rough outlines of what might be like garden plots from 1930. a bit more evident in 1943. So, you know, going through the ages, like it's always been in a garden, and the longest of operating one in Edmonton. And here is Joe McDonald, who I believe, Kyle, what was the connection on Joe McDonald again? Can't remember.
I feel that David would be able to comment on this most specifically, but John McDonald being the first homesteader of River Lot 11, which I want to commend David and Sydney for writing a really strong statement of significance. There is some evidence that this particular piece of property has been under cultivation since 1882.
Just a point of clarification, this is all Sydney. I was just there to present. Sydney did all the work on this one.
Well,
yeah.
Thank you for carrying it across the finish line. I also, Eric, our supervisor, was in this document as well. So he had added a lot of the historical context. Yeah, this was a part of River Lot 11. Some of you might have heard of River Lot 11 from the Indigenous Art Park that's down closer to the river. Joseph McDonald and his wife Marguerite and their family lived on this land for over 50 years. They apparently had a house on what is now Saskatchewan Drive, and yeah, they were the original River Lot owners from 1882 onwards. So living there for 50 years, they would have seen it transform from a river lot where they homesteaded and farmed into the town of Strathcona, and then the city of Strathcona, and then amalgamation into the city of Edmonton, which is pretty neat. And I think it's cool that like this is a piece of land that is basically being farmed on for the past like 150 plus years.
Oh,
maybe
for sure.
Exactly where the garden is, but you know, it's part of that type of use on the land.
No, for sure. Yes. No, thank you to you, to Eric, to David, to Kyle, of course, bringing it forward for all the research on this. It's pretty neat to have community garden on the inventory, which is definitely unique for Edmonton, and especially given the history of the site, to the city, and I guess originally the town of Strathcona, and then River Lot 11 as well. So, in interest of time, Kyle.
In the interest of time, I just wanted to mention to the Heritage Unit that the community garden has signaled to me that they want to continue to move forward in a strong way with designation. And I know that we don't have that consensus at this time, but just to put that on your radar, and I'm sure, just to say I appreciate your work to this point. We're not done yet. That's all.
Great. Thanks, Kyle. David?
Yeah, thanks for that, Kyle. And I'm only popping in to speak to that just because I was the one at the meeting, and at the panel meeting there were some questions about future designation, and I just wanted to pass along the information to the full board that the site is owned by the city. It's leased by the Community League. At this time, our real estate colleagues have indicated that there is not any interest or support at this point to designate the site. Those conversations could continue and may evolve through the Heritage Places strategy, but it's good to know that there is still the interest there, and we can bring that up with our colleagues, but just for reference for the group, at this time, the city wouldn't be supportive of designation. And one other minor note, I just want to give a nod to Kyle. I erroneously, during the panel meeting, indicated that Kyle was the actual applicant for this one. He's simply been acting on behalf of the Community League for the application to amend. And as a result of that, I deprived him of the opportunity to second the motion to add it to the inventory, and there's a little bit of a fluster there. So Kyle, I just wanted to apologize to you again for that little mix up there. The application was submitted by the Strathcona Community League, but Kyle was our main point of contact. So we just made a bit of a cross up there. So just wanted to flag that one and just thank him for his efforts on this one so far.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. No stress, David. We've bounced some emails back and forth, and I'm glad to understand the lay of the land. Thanks.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. Thanks, David. And yeah, James, I see your chat here. Hopefully, David answered your question in terms of support for designation. So we'll see what happens there. Maybe Sydney and David can convince real estate to designate it against their will, or not. Who knows? We'll see. Okay, so I'm going to put forward the motion that the Edmonton Historical Board recommend to administration that the Strathcona Rail Community Garden site located at 10543 86th Avenue Northwest be added to the inventory of historic resources in Edmonton. And any votes against that motion? Hopefully not. I'm not expecting anything. I don't think people hate gardens. Great. We all love gardens. Motion passed. Thank you very much. And yeah, thanks Kyle, David, Sydney, Jared, Eric et al. For getting those two applications to the panel and subsequently us, the board. And on to our Historic Plaques Committee with Elizabeth Mitchell talk about the swimming pool.
Hello, everyone. Just for expediency's sake, I'll try to summarize everything as quickly as possible. As mentioned earlier, the designation for Peter Hemingway is coming before council in January of next year. And the opening of Hemingway is four days after. It's a very, very short turnaround time. So in order to ensure there is a plaque on the wall when the recreation center opens, we are putting forward a motion to the board for an expedited production for the Hemingway plaque to be approved. So I'll just read it. So the motion is the Historic Plaques Committee recommends that the request for an expedited production for the Hemingway plaque be approved. So are there any questions about why we're rushing forward with this one plaque? Questions, concerns, comments, let me know.
Do we have any, are there any rush fees? Do we have to pay a premium to get this done?
No.
So,
okay.
Yep, no rush fees. It'll be the same as any other plaque. Unfortunately, since we're getting it, it will be delivered in January. It'll come out of January's budget, which is like ideal for all of us. So
can we have a fun plaque presentation specifically for this one? Like maybe David or Elizabeth can just hammer it onto the side of the pool or something.
This one will actually be unveiled on site.
Oh,
yeah.
We know where it's going.
Nice.
Yeah, we literally have about 48 hours after council approval to the grand reopening to get the get it hung on the wall where we know it's going. So it'll be we're in the midst of coordinating that, and Mitchell's been very helpful coordinating things with Barron's and getting the plaque is in manufacture now. So we're just, the reason this is all my request to just given the 5 years of the closure of the pool, the significance of the building, and the fact that we are designating it, we just desperately wanted to have that plaque shiny and new hung in the pool space for when the formal reopening is happening that day. Nice. Just as a nod to the board, to council, and everyone else involved. So I thank Elizabeth and Mitchell for accommodating this scrambled request to get this pulled together and just under the wire. So
great. Well, Elizabeth, you want to call a vote on this?
Sure. Anyone opposed? No. Great, because it's already in production, so.
Perfect.
everybody loves a pool. We knew you would have no objections.
Yeah. Do we have the text? Can you share the text of this one with us soon, just so we can see what it's going to say?
Oh yeah, sure. I have that on file. I'll share it in the chat now.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Yeah, appreciate that. Okay. Any other items from your end, Elizabeth or Mitchell?
No, I'm good. Elizabeth?
Nothing that needs to be addressed at this moment. Everything's chugging along as it should be for the committee.
Perfect. Great. Thank you both. We're looking forward to seeing the plaque text and the subsequent physical plaque installed. So the Policy and Planning Committee did not meet this month, November. Vanessa, Kyle, I don't think there's anything on your end on this one yet, right?
No, nothing to add. It says what happened. I'm intending to try to rewrite the framework of the committee and submit that for discussion shortly, but
okay.
Nothing further now.
Great. Nope. Thank you on that. And I guess still Kyle and us committee chairs as well for the next item, engagement committee. We did meet on the 13th to review the strategic planning quote from Y Stations. Hopefully everybody's been able to review that quote. That nice proposal that was put together by Amanda. I don't know if it's put together by Amanda, but she's the one that's proposed to lead the project. Kyle, I'll let you take this one.
Thanks, Harrison. Hopefully the quote is fairly self-explanatory. It was met with, I think, a degree of confidence and support with the engagement committee. Happy to entertain questions, of course, but basically the work plan breaks down into a preliminary kickoff meeting between chair and vice chair, and anybody else, frankly, who wishes to participate in the kickoff committee, which I think has been scheduled for the very early December. Harrison, maybe you can supply me with the exact date. I lack it off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And then to move into sort of a workbook or homework prior to actually arriving at the workshop. I am of the view that the quote provides a pretty clear description of what the deliverables are expected to be, and that this is going to be a slightly different document than what we had in the last cycle. Something that we can point to every meeting and align every single decision that we're making on a go-forward basis to. I think it's timely that we have a new council. I think it's timely that we have a new sort of recruitment cycle as well. I know under the action items, Harrison, you're going to speak to that, to recruitment cycle a little bit more. I'll park it there. Happy to answer questions.
Yep. Thanks, Kyle.
Short of questions, I'm prepared to move the motion. I don't know if I can move the motion.
I can.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can move that if there's any other pending any other questions, comments on this. I don't think we're happy with that. So I'll move that the engagement committee recommends that the Edmonton Historical Board executes the strategic planning proposal with Y Station and reallocate. I'll say reallocate funding as a friendly amendment within the existing 2025 budget accordingly. So any thoughts on that motion? Great. So anyone opposed to that motion? Or would like to see any further amendments to that motion? Okay, not seeing anything from the members here. So we will say that has been passed, and we will move forward with Y Station for the strategic planning sessions. With the December 1st, Kyle, I saw December 1st at 11 a.m. tentative meet. It says tentative, but it's probably just the meeting now because I think I've accepted it. But Amanda herself, it's a Teams meeting. So it's a Teams meeting, but it's in Google Meets for me, so maybe that's why it looks weird. But yeah, the three of us should.
Tentative till we had a decision tonight, and again, I strongly implore really anybody with an interest in being part of that conversation, please just simply get in touch with Harrison or myself, and I think we'd be happy to welcome you to that conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Great. Okay, so we'll move forward with Y Station for the strategic planning session. Excellent. Okay, thank you, Kyle. On to any administrative support items from Catherine Mitchell.
No, actually, I don't have anything on my end. Catherine?
Nope, nothing there. Okay, thank you. Of course, we don't have a meeting in December, so this will be your last meeting until end of January. And this leads into a round table discussion. Kyle had an item here. Archives visit and Edmonton Design Awards. Kyle.
Thanks, Harrison. Very briefly, I had the opportunity on Monday to go into the archives and review some of the Edmonton Historical Board fonds, especially dating to the 60s. Really very interesting. Obviously, we were established as a body in the 1940s, 1947. These records spoke to sort of a campaign to be associated with the Edmonton Parks and Recreation Unit, which I thought was really interesting. And there was some very fascinating correspondence from especially John Jansen as it pertains to the establishment of Fort Edmonton Park. I'll maybe take the opportunity to circulate the vision letter which he wrote. It's just four pages that was really very interesting and evocative and somewhat timely given the recent change in management and kind of casts long view to the year 2067, which we're not yet at, but was well worth spending a few minutes to look at. The other item I wanted to flag was last week, the Edmonton Urban Design Awards occurred, and in the heritage category, of course, Fort Edmonton was recognized. So encourage folks to check out the results of that exercise, and that's all I wanted to flag for awareness. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kyle. Any questions on his item there? Seeing none. Great, thank you. And yeah, as we mentioned, we're coming up to April. End of April will be the end of this term for the HB, and of course, city or civic agencies has me going, as a chair, going through the recruitment process, getting our recruitment profile updated and ready with support from Kyle as a vice chair for posting for 2 new board positions that will be posted in early January after the Christmas break. So it'll be myself. I'm not running again as the chair, or I on the board at least. Like I've been here since May 2021 was my first time. So there'll be a couple of vacancies opening up because of that. The chair of the board, of course, and the naming committee representative. So keep that in mind. We do have to have elections for positions, even if it's like one person. You still have to acclaim it. So right now, proposing our March board meeting, so it's not the last meeting. We would have any elections for those positions then. So chair, naming committee representative, and policy and planning committee chair, or whatever committee Kyle and Vanessa kind of see develops out of that if it changes. So a few positions that will be opening up starting May 1st with the new term. And there'll also be 2 new board members through the recruitment process, which is always fun. So we'll see who applies for those. And I think I might have a sneak preview of who those are as well. So we'll find out. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, I've gone through all the evaluations for people seeking reappointment, except for James. I got to still schedule James. Quick chat to go through that. Otherwise, I think we're pretty good for civic agencies because they need everything by December 7th. So end of next week, I think we should be okay. Any questions, comments on any recruitment, EHB members stuff, et cetera, because we're not going to talk at all for 2 months until January 28th. So get it out now. Just kidding. Email and stuff is fine. I mean, of course, there might be an engagement meeting somewhere in there too, and committee meetings in January. Not seeing anything. All right. So actually, I do propose for our January meeting. We haven't met in person in a while, so maybe we'll try and do an in-person one. If the weather's okay. That's always nice. We can get meet in person, chat, talk about what we did over the holidays, blah blah blah. So I'm proposing we have an in-person at the archives on January 28th. I know some of us have tough times making a 5 o'clock meeting, so maybe Catherine Mitchell, we could even push that in-person meeting to like 5:30. Maybe it's a bit easier, like more achievable, because I feel we've had in-person meetings before, which is great, but it's always a rush to get there for 5. So maybe 5:30 would be a bit better, especially with winter time. Who knows what could happen? So I'll push our meeting to probably 7:30 if it takes up the full 2 hours. But I think 5:30 is a better time for in person. Thoughts on that?
We can do that.
Yeah,
we can do that.
Yeah. Not hearing any dissenting opinions. Okay, good. Thumbs up from Darren. Thank you. Okay, great. Adjourn 6:50. All right, I'm gonna bang the gavel. Adjourned at 6:56. Perfect. Okay, thanks, Mitchell. Great. Yeah, thanks for we got in under time. I'm surprised and happy with that. So thanks for being efficient. And yeah, if we don't talk to each other in advance of the holidays, happy holidays, all that fun stuff, and maybe talk to you in 2025 still, or maybe some of you in 2026. Ooh, the new year.
Awesome. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Harrison.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Yeah, happy
Good night.
holidays. Thanks for the help.
Yeah, bye everybody.